Hi, everyone. This is Jeff Clark, the Senior Precious Metals Analyst here at goldsilver.com. It has been a busy week for us here, and so I thought I would call Mike and get some feedback from him on some of the questions that have been coming in. These are questions that come in on our blog at Gold Silver, on social media, and to customer service. So anyway, we thought we'd get an update for some of our customers here from Mike. So I have Mike on the line, and we're going to jump right in here. We're going to get his input on several issues, including where he thinks gold and silver is going to, or when it's going to start to rise again in earnest. So, hi, Mike.
Hi, how are you doing, Jeff?
Very good. So the questions I get, I tend to see more questions on silver than I do on gold. And the most common question we get on silver is, did you think it was going to take this long for the silver market to break out? So I'm wondering if you have some thoughts you'd want to share with our customers on when you think the next upsurge in silver will take place, and even the wealth transfer you've talked about.
Well, frankly, I started investing into gold back in 2002 and silver in 2003. And no, I didn't think it would take this long. I knew that back in April of 2011 that peak was not the end of the bull market. One of the reasons that you can see that it's not the end is that those were greed-driven manias, and gold and silver were acting very differently. Silver peaked in April, and gold didn't peak until August. And that's not what a blow-off top in the precious metals market looks like. When the blow-off top finally does happen, it's going to be a fear-driven panic, not a greed-driven mania. And gold and silver will peak on the same day, or at the most a day apart. This bear market that we have been in for 5 years, I was expecting a bear market, and I knew that it's called a cyclical bear within a secular bull. And so you've got this giant secular bull market, and in the middle of it, there's got to be some sort of interruption to shake people out, to get rid of the easy money and the get-rich-quick schemers and so on. And we've had that now. It's gone a lot longer than I thought, but I knew that the 2008 pullback in gold and silver, 2008, 2009, that was not it, because interest in the sector, even though gold and silver went down, interest in the sector went way up. And then in 2009, they took off like a rocket. And so this is the cyclical bear within the secular bull that I was expecting to cause capitulation, to cause people to give up. And without it, the market wouldn't go as high or be as healthy. It needed to do this. It's just that I thought it would take a year or two, not 5. And so I'm pretty tired of it also. And, what's even worse is watching the regular stock markets go up and up and up, and everybody thinks that is a great place to be. But, if you inflation adjust it, you find out that the stock markets are barely over what they were back in the year 2000. So, if you were lucky enough to catch the bottom of one of the crashes and invest in the regular stock market, you would have done well. If you could have avoided the crashes and then jump back in at the bottom, or go to gold and silver during the crashes and jump back in the bottom. But if you've been investing the whole time and dollar cost averaging in, then I've still done fairly well being in the precious metals sector. And I bought sometimes when it was high, but gold is still, gold and silver are still up hundreds of, if you started back in the year 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, you still have a multi-bagger basically. It's up well over 100%, and the stock markets aren't. So it's been a good place to be. It's just that this 5-year brutal cyclical bear, where gold and silver have been doing a pullback. They did a pullback for roughly 3 years, and we've been sort of noodling sideways now for about 2. And that has been difficult. And but I expect that it's going to be over soon because we are seeing a lot of capitulation. And the timing of this is all going to depend, the love affair with the new administration is going on a little bit longer than I thought it would. I thought it would go for about 6 months and then fade. And, it looks like the markets are going to continue going up for a little while. But we're in the third longest economic expansion in U.S. history. And I believe there has been 47 different recessions and expansions. And so another recession is way overdue at this point. Normally it's every 4.5 years, and here we are 9 years into this expansion. It'll become the second longest, I believe, next January or February, and then shortly thereafter it would become the longest in history. And this is based on an economic expansion that has been the weakest one in the history of the United States. It's the most anemic economic expansion we've ever had. And there are a lot of fundamentals underlying this economic expansion. It was bought and paid for through currency and credit creation. And that's not healthy. And it means that when the correction happens, it's probably going to be a whole lot worse. And so I don't think people have that much longer to wait. If it doesn't happen this fall, it will almost certainly happen in 2018. And I just don't see any possibility at all that gold and silver won't be in some sort of massive bull market by 2019. I mean, they just will be, in my opinion.
So it all happened within a few years, and the bottom line for now is that we should be taking advantage of these low prices and make sure we're accumulating as much metal as we want to get ready for that upsurge, because it's almost inevitable that it'll happen for all the reasons you've pointed out in many articles and videos. So,
well, that's what I'm doing. Is I've been dollar cost averaging in for years. But every once in a while I get some lump sum, and I have extra cash on my hands, and I'm expecting next month that I will have extra cash, and I'm there's a payment that is due me, and I'm very glad that it's happening next month, and I'm glad that gold and silver didn't rise too much in the meantime, because I think that we're at, that it could be that the lows are in. We could take one last dip as the markets start to tumble whenever this economic expansion comes to an end and we have our next recession. But I view this as an opportunity, and so I'm just getting ready for the next big upsurge, and it should happen soon. I don't want it to happen too soon.
Right.
I still want to be able to purchase more. So,
me too. Well, another question I've got a lot of this week is on the Insiders video you just did on Ted Butler's JP Morgan theory.
Yeah.
And by the way, we put out insider videos pretty regularly, which is extra information we give to our customers. So I would encourage everyone, if you're not an insider, to become one, because it does include information we don't release to the general public, and it will include our exit strategy at some point too. Anyway, his theory is that the holdings in SLV, the silver ETF, are at a much higher level than the holdings in GLD, and that it's partly due to JP Morgan accumulating a very large position in that fund. And so Ted Butler thinks that if JP Morgan takes off their massive short position, the price of silver could explode. But either way, there's this huge discrepancy between the amount of holdings in the fund, which are very high, and the price of silver, which is very low, especially when you compare those factors to GLD. So a lot of people have written in, well, what do you think of that theory? And do you have any expectations that that might be what ignites the silver market?
Well, that's Ted Butler's theory that that's going to really ignite things, that J.P. Morgan has accumulated an enormous position that's not in the futures market, that they have accumulated physical, and that would mean that what he's talking about is that would be the reason that SLV their holdings didn't drop. The price of gold and silver have gone down, and as the price of gold went down, the holdings, the number of tons of gold in GLD went down with it, but not so with SLV. SLV, the holdings are near the all-time highs, but the price of silver has really been beaten up. And I know in the retail sector, I'm trying to find some charts right now that you sent me a little while ago. There's some old charts from somebody else that show the holdings, and it was showing that GLD has more institutional holdings and SLV is more retail. And so maybe that's the reason you thought that SLV was had remained stable. Well, and actually that should be the opposite. It's
Yeah.
if I would imagine that J.P. Morgan would be categorized as institutional and not retail if they were buying it. And so, yeah, it could be a trigger that causes things to just take off like a rocket. Ted Butler is also somebody that's been in the silver market for forever. I mean, when you talk about Ted Butler and David Morgan and some of the people that have been around forever, they also didn't think that this thing would last this long. It's amazing that it has taken this long and that they've been able to keep the dollar propped up for so long, even though they're debasing the dollar so massively. So, yeah, that could be one of the triggers. It is really worth watching Ed Steer's video about Ted Butler's theory.
Yes, very good. I think there are so many triggers that could ignite this market, silver and gold, and that's just another one. And there's too many to go over here in a short video. But I think it's inevitable that silver is going to have to rise a lot more in price. So. Another silver question I get is, you just released a video where you bought silver with Bitcoin. And so some customers have written in asking how that went, how easy was the process, and also why did you do it?
Yeah, well, I did it because cryptocurrencies have been in a bull market here, although they are a wild ride. So I want to let everybody out there know that if they're going to buy cryptos, unless you've got a strong stomach, you don't want to just throw everything you have at it. You want to. It's an extremely small part of my portfolio. However, it had an awful lot of profits in them, and so I wanted to take some of that profits and turn it into silver, because the cryptos are a lot of them are up at some pretty lofty highs. And they may keep on going, but they might also fall. Where silver, I just don't see that much downside. So I wanted to take something that has potential downside and turn it into something that doesn't have potential downside. So it's sort of like insurance. By the same token, the cryptos could go up many, many, many fold. If you look at them, there's things I really like about them. They do solve a whole lot of problems that of the current monetary system. But at the same time, they have a few things about them that are almost like pyramid schemes. The original creator and the very first people that jump on end up with a bazillion of the tokens, the like bitcoins. And then when other people jump on later and pile into it, it makes them extremely rich, hundreds of millions of dollars. And now if somebody creates a new world monetary system and they're responsible for it, then they deserve to be a billionaire. But there are so many of these cryptocurrencies that are coming and going right now. New ones coming around all the time. And if it becomes popular, suddenly the originator of that currency becomes extremely rich. And if it crashes, then he became rich. If the originator took some profits during that period of time, if it crashes later, then it's at the expense of the. But that's the free market also. When people try something out and take a chance on it, if they lose, that was their own misjudgment, and if they win, that was their own good judgment, or it was luck. So the people that wrote in about that last video, though, about buying gold with or silver with Bitcoin, a lot of the silver people were pretty angry about how long this thing has taken, and that here we are still grinding sideways, and we're still down below the 2011 highs. We're quite a bit below them. But I feel the same pain they do. And one thing I do want to say is I've never recommended anything to anybody. I only tell people what I do. So people have a good reason to feel a high level of frustration. But believe me, I feel it too. I would love, I've been doing this since 2002.
Well, I think that day is coming. I'm pretty confident of that as well, and I'm investing in buying gold and silver as if I believe that's going to happen as well. So, and
I believe
by the way,
what's going to happen is you're going to see, within the next year or so, you're going to see the next bull market, the next cycle in this bull market start, the third phase blow off. And that thing may go up for a while, and then it just goes vertical at the end. And so the greatest amount of money will be made in the shortest period of time coming up. And buying at a low is, and that's one thing about this 5-year grinding bear market, is if you're dollar cost averaging in, it means that your dollar cost, that you're buying a lot more at lower prices. People very often make the mistake of chasing after price. They wait until something's really rising, and then they see that it's rising and they jump on the bandwagon. And that might work for a little while, but you've missed the big gains if you don't buy when something is bottoming. And gold and silver are bottoming.
Right. They're very low. By the way, I just want to mention we just released an article on our website, How to Buy Gold with Bitcoin, and it covers not just how to do it, which is very easy, but also the advantages and drawbacks of Bitcoin. So you might find that interesting. It's very worth reading. It's How to Buy Gold with Bitcoin, and it's on our website. And another silver topic, Mike, that has come up a lot is that we've had 2 brand new products just released. Our Athenian Owl and our Silver Bull. The Athenian Owl is part of our Modern Ancient series, and both are very attractive. And the Silver Bull is especially attractive because it's not only a good-looking coin, it's very cheap. You can get it as low as 59 cents over spot, and you hardly ever hear of premiums for silver being measured in cents instead of dollars these days. So we'll pop a picture of these up on the screen so everyone can see them. But I wanted to ask you to start with the Silver Bull there and talk about what the motto is on the back of that and what it means to you.
Yeah, well, the imagery, it's got Atlas holding up the world, and then surrounding that it says, maximum prosperity can only be achieved through individual freedom, free markets, and sound money. And that is a truth, and it's a measurable truth. If you go to the Fraser Institute in Canada, you can find them at economicfreedom.org or freetheworld.com. This is a moderate think tank, and then there's a conservative think tank in the U.S., the Heritage Foundation, and both of them have been gathering economic data from societies all over the planet to see what creates the maximum prosperity. And they assign values for each country for things like the size of the government compared to the GDP, the levels of taxation, the economic freedom, especially of being able to import, export anything you want, start a business without a whole bunch of cumbersome regulation. And it turns out that the freest countries with the smallest governments compared to the size of the economy and the lowest levels of taxation and the least regulation, those people live 20 years longer. And so it's a huge thing. The more regulation, the more taxation, and the more the government runs your life, the shorter your life is going to be. So maximum prosperity can only be achieved through individual freedom, free markets, and sound money. And if you look at all of our Modern Ancients series, from the Pegasus through Nike and the Ajax coin and now the Athenian owl, on the back there's a shield. And in the middle of that shield, there's some symbols. Up at the top, it says free markets and free people. But underneath that, a lion and a bull. And the heads on the lion and the bull are the images that were on some of the very first coins that were ever struck in Lydia. So the Lydia lion and bull coins. And between them, there's this sunburst. And so the full motto is to enlighten. This is our mission at goldsilver.com. And Hidden Secrets of Money. It's to enlighten the world. That's the sunburst. That maximum prosperity, the cornucopia, can only be achieved through individual freedom, the dove, free markets, the scales, and sound money, the coin. So that's the full imagery.
I love it. And by the way, we have an article coming out on this as well. Alex asked me to write an article on this because a lot of people were asking about it. So look for that on our site any day. It'll be titled something like, what's the meaning behind this shield on the gold silver products? So that'll be on our site, maybe even by the time we post this video. So, by the way, as we sign off, I'd like to encourage everyone to check out our chart in the article titled The Best Time to Buy Gold and Silver in 2017. And the reason I bring that up is because if you scroll down to the silver chart, you'll see that on average since 1975, the silver price has taken a very strong dip in June, especially the last half of June, which is right now. So I can't tell you necessarily why it does that in the last half of June on average, but the historical pattern there is pretty strong. And then you'll see in that chart the price starts shooting up again around the 4th of July holiday or shortly thereafter. So if you want some silver, if you would like to check out the silver bull or the Athenian owl, now is the time to do it if history has any say this year. So anyway, thanks everyone for joining us, and I hope you'll keep up with us on the news there on goldsilver.com. Don't forget, we have a price match guarantee, we have free shipping, and a special insiders program. So thanks for liking the video and subscribing, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll see you next time.